Welcome to Unscripted Wellness, the podcast where real conversations meet real movement. This is brought to you by Get Fit Meridian. We're here to explore fitness, whole health, and well-being without the fluff. No scripts, let's just be honest, practical, real conversations. Let's get started. Hey, what's up, guys? Hannah here. I am here with Alyssa. We are taking you into part 2 of our first podcast. We realized the first podcast, we were just going to call it like it is. We totally failed to even introduce ourselves and who we were. I think the nerves kind of kicked in, but we're excited to dive into 3 different topics today. My name is Hannah Donnelly. I am humbled to say that I'm the owner of Get Fit Meridian. I love leading this team. I love leading this community, wearing multiple hats, training, front desk, put me in, coach, I'll do whatever. And Alyssa is also here with me. Why don't you explain, kind of give an introduction of who you are and what you do at Get Fit Meridian?
My name is Alyssa Strenger, and what I do here is just help within the community, front desk, childcare, occasionally on the training floor, and all the things in between, helping her with whatever else in the back side of everything as well.
Yeah, event planning, strategy, programming. There's tons of stuff that goes into making this place run on a day-to-day basis. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Kind of giving you another sneak peek. We kind of gave you guys a general idea of who we are at Get Fit Meridian and kind of a story of how Alyssa and I met, how I started at Get Fit Meridian, but we're going to dive into the details of kind of what led us to the building that we're in. We're going to talk about our core values. And then it was really awesome to see all of the feedback that we received after the first podcast. And we're going to dive into the top 3 questions that we have been asked since then. And so we'll get into that here in just a bit. But we want to dive into how Get Fit Meridian found its building, and just kind of go over all of that, what kind of led us, what are like the build out. And because we talked about us doing over 28 events before the doors open, but we want to talk through kind of the whole process of everything. I think that's important to know, kind of where people come from and just kind of give you honestly a good perspective of who we are. And we're just real stinking people, and we're transparent and we're open and we're honest. And so we'll get into all of that. We'll get into the top 3 questions, and then we're going to dive into nutrition and what that is leading up. We have one of our biggest events coming up here in just a couple weeks, which is the GFI Games. It's something that GFI has been hosting for 7 years now, and this is the 2nd year that GFI Meridian will be hosting it. And we are so excited. It's a good in-house friendly competition, but ultimately, like, yes, it's a competition between other Get Fitters, but it is the biggest community event that we put on, and it's honestly such a memorable moment for not just competitors, but the people that are cheering on the team. And it's to create that community and just that overall experience of like, we're here for each other. We're gonna encourage, rally, and just have a great time. Like, it is fun. We have food trucks, bounce house for the kids. People are competing in different movements of events. We have judges. It is a blast. We can't wait. Photo booths. Let's go.
Coffee.
Let's go. Yeah, you had me at coffee. But first, before we get into that kind of perspective of things, let's talk about how this building came about. So I'll kind of like lead it, and then, I mean, Alyssa, you heard me call you multiple times of like, man, we're delayed again, or, you know, all the stuff that happened within that time frame. But when, like we said in the first podcast of kind of leading up to us opening, we did so many different events to get to know people, for them to get to know us. And during that whole process, we were like in the mass hunt of the perfect building, a certain square footage, something that's going to fit well for childcare, obviously restrooms, like the essentials that you need, but the things that we do in a day-to-day of our fitness. And so I was working with a realtor at the time, and I honestly can't remember how we even came about.
But were you just driving by it or something, or you like saw?
No, I mean, the guy we were working with, he was like on a mad hunt. We went and looked at multiple events. I got events on the brain. I mean, we're at like
Buildings.
probably like what, 60 events at this point. We love it. We love every part of it. But we're talking about buildings. No, I remember it was honestly like a stressful process. And we were just so hungry and ready to like literally find the right place and open up the next week. Like that was our mindset. But God knew exactly where we were supposed to be. And in that journey, it was and still is the most trust and faith building journey that honestly we've ever walked on. And seeing multiple buildings there said it right. You just know, like when you walk into a space, you just have that initial gut feeling of like, yes, this is it, or no, I'm not sure. And then you try to like justify it sometimes. But there was a couple that were like, yeah, this is the space. Let's do this. This is going to be great. It's going to be awesome. It's the perfect location and all those feelings. But they just didn't work out. And I remember we were like, yes, this is it. We can make this work. And just kind of trying to, I guess, make it work. And then we were about to sign a lease for a certain building. And then the guy that we worked with, his name is Jack. He's great. He texts me like the next day and he's like, Hannah, I think I need you to see this space. And he's like, it's next to a dental office. And I was like, that's kind of weird, but let's just go see it. And so I met him, but honestly, like I will never forget that day, the day that I was supposed to meet him and get a full walkthrough of the building that we are currently in. My middle daughter was so sick that day, like I'm talking puking, like stuff I don't do well with. And I'm like, I think I need to cancel this meeting. And gracefully, my mom was like, no, like I'll watch her and you go. So I came to the meeting and I'll never forget it. I'm like, wow, this is absolutely beautiful. It looks like a modern barn. Just the windows, the vitamin D shining through the building. But it was just completely framed out at the time. And so getting a visual of where the training space would be. But I'll never forget the moment that I walked through the doors. Even just the wood in here, I'm like, this is the space. Like you just know in your gut and your spirit that this is the right space that we need to be in. And so took the steps forward. I mean, they were still doing like construction here, and I was like introducing myself to everybody as if like they knew exactly like what we were doing there. They had no clue. They were like, "This girl is crazy," but we were so excited and just like already like forward planning and drawing a little map, on my notebook that probably had coffee stains on it in my laptop case, and we just took the leap of faith and we're like, we believe that this is the space that we need to be in. And it's been great, but like leading up to the preparation of the building and just what that looks like and everything that entails with getting a small business started and a community started. I'm thankful for that process. I'm thankful for every ounce of, the hardships and the goods, the highs, lows. It's something that has, I guess, shaped me to even be a better person and grow in different ways. But do you remember like me telling you, I would probably just sent you like pictures and videos. Like I was full sending, like taking videos. We definitely still have them.
Definitely. No, I remember when you told me that you were having the appointment and then you walked in and then you texted me and you were like, this is a spot. I think I found it. I was like, oh, okay. After all this time and all the like hardships of like trying to figure it out, the not feeling encouraged that you're going to find the spot and everything. And then you called me later that day and it just did seem like in your voice, like it was real. It was ready to be the thing. And here we are. 15, 16 months later. So it's really cool to see it all evolve and all come to life. And I know I've told you that time and time again, but super exciting.
Yeah, I remember like even before we opened, we didn't have floor at this point, but we were building up our staff and we had team meetings in just the wood. People would bring lawn chairs. We would bring like snacks and stuff and bring a wooden box that you would do box jumps on to put the food on and stuff. And we just like, we made it work. But like leading up to it, I would like to talk about, just like the equipment and how that all kind of came about. And this is like where it becomes like super transparent and just real. And that's who we always want to strive to be. But leading up to it, when we talked back in our first podcast of, hey, Hannah, like, do you want to open a Get Fit there and bring the same community? I'm like, yes, dive straight in. But then like reality set in of like, how are we going to do this? Like, okay, Lord, like direct the path. And going through just trying to figuring all that stuff out. I mean, I was substitute teaching
Yeah.
high school. And I just like, I joke about it, but it was a great time. Like I got to know some kiddos here and develop those relationships. And, you know, the outside community was really fun. And there's times like I honestly miss it. Like it was great. I taught PE, I did health, and then I did first responding at Renaissance, and they were just such great kids. But I did that as we were, you know, waiting for the building to be built out. Like it was delayed quite a bit, out of our control. But there was times where even before we moved, I'll never forget this part. A couple years ago, I mean, let me rewind a little bit. We explained like, you know, kind of drove me in to Get Fit, and you know, my dad passing away from cancer is so near and dear to my heart. And growing up, my dad always drove a white Toyota Tacoma. I just remember like listening to Alan Jackson, driving to soccer practice, like just so fun. But a couple years ago, Nick, my husband, he bought me a older Toyota truck, and it was actually my brother's at the time, and he knew that that was something that was so special to me because I feel like a part of my dad is with me. Like we even sold that truck to get this place like started, and I just joke about it, like when you're on the treads, like just imagine white Toyota Tacoma. One day it will come back. But you know, just explaining like how much this space, community, people means so much to us. There's not enough words for that. And it's just really, really special to see it evolve how it has been, just day by day, week by week, month by month. It has been really incredible. And just knowing that confirmation of, this is where we're supposed to be, you know?
Yeah.
And but yeah, that's kind of like a glimpse of everything. Let's dive into like what are the top three questions that have been asked since our first podcast. I'm going to pull up. I wrote them down. Kind of give us some little good structure here. The first question is, what is your programming like? So, to perspective here, we fluctuate our muscle rotation between full body, upper body, and lower body. And behind the scenes, the full body could be, one of them will be endurance day. The other one will be a strength day, and then we do upper and lower body. So it's alternating every week for the most part. It's pretty consistent, but we do that because not everybody is coming, you know, 5 or 6 days a week, or people's work schedule can get a little hectic and crazy, and so we don't always want, for example, like Monday to always be leg day, because if someone's always working Mondays, like, I mean, that sucks. Some might be like, oh, darn, I
Can't
miss
miss
leg day.
Friends don't let friends skip leg day.
Yeah, but we do all of our in-house programming. We are all certified trainers, and we're always constantly evolving, learning, doing continuing education, to be the absolute best that we can be for you guys. And so the most special part about us doing our in-house programming is we're here day in and day out. Like we know our community, we know a good general idea if someone is, you know, if there's like a good group of people that are walking through shoulder issues or knee issues. I'm like talking the most like common things that we kind of hear, or back issues. And so we take all those things into consideration of our programming, and we cater to our space, our equipment, our people, and even just forward thinking of like newbies coming in. What is that going to feel like? And it's very thought through, and perspective of behind the scenes is we have a whole training doc, so all of our staff can see exactly what that workout is, and you know how to, coaches notes, how to time right, how to provide certain, alternating movements, for things that people need, whether it's progressions or regressions. And so it's just really important for us. We also, we were a little old school, I guess I want to call it, is we utilize whiteboards. And so structure wise, coming in on the daily and weekly basis, structure will be different every time. We don't ever repeat workouts unless it's like staples, like the Murph. We do what we call the Grit every October. Those are going to be, obviously repeat workouts, but for the most part, it's always different. We'll definitely do staple movements like the deadlift, chest press, things that we need to incorporate, back squats, lunges, those type of things. But you being front desk, why don't you talk about how like how it is setting up for like the next day, like writing the boards, like walk us through that part of things.
So usually front desk, we come in, greet all the people coming in through the doors, and then we start looking at the doc to see what to write. And board by board, move by move, if we have to alter anything, then we talk with the trainer, or if we're also on the training floor, we can help kind of adjust and then let the trainer know for the next day. And then after that, we tear down at the end of the night, and then we set up each station, making sure all the equipment's ready to go for demo, and making sure if there's any modifications too, we can write it on the board as well. But really just honing in on the fact of like, we care about each day and we care about each setup and tear down to make sure that the community has everything that they're needing to have the best workout to their ability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's fun too. And, before we opened, we were like kind of debating, like, should we put the stations or, whatever workout we're doing that day on the TVs for people to see. I'm like, no, we kind of like the old school feel of the whiteboards and expo markers, and
it's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. It's really great. But so that was a good question that you guys had for us. The other one that I want to talk about that we get most often, this is from newer people that kind of like know of us, or they call or text the front desk phone, or fill out their first class form, and they're like, "Hey, I want to get set up." And but then the most common question that we do receive is, "Are you like CrossFit?" And I like to explain it that we are group functional fitness, and I love that question because it gives an opportunity for us to show exactly how unique we are here. We do definitely do similarity stuff that CrossFit does incorporate. Like kind of the same movements that I just went over: the deadlift, the back squat, pull-ups, but we take a lot of stuff that is from that like EMOMs, as far as like, structure wise of workouts, EMOMs, AMRAPs, +2 ladders. And then we repeat those movements, right? So that we always continue to get better, get stronger, every single time. When it comes to that, but we do focus on functional movements most of the time, and it's designed for all fitness levels, and it's a little bit more approachable. That maybe people are feeling intimidated, or they don't maybe want that complete competitive type feeling. You definitely still get that here for sure, but people are able to kind of scale back a little bit, and we are focusing on certain muscle rotations. So Thursday this week, for example, is upper body, but we are focusing 50% on your chest and your biceps. And so if someone missed upper body on Tuesday, they're still going to get other aspects of shoulders, their back, that stuff in between, in case they do miss the upper body. And that's kind of the heart behind our muscle rotation. It's so supportive, and you don't have the concept of like having to go hard all the time. And we do, like, for example, we do program like handstand holds, which is great, but then we're giving 3 to 4 different alternatives for that. So that's a really good perspective. As far as like class operation, I know we dove into this just a little bit on that, but the trainer will explain the entire workout. So we will walk you through station by station. Sometimes there's 4 stations, and there's 5. Sometimes class is split in half. Sometimes the whole class is together. It just depends on the muscle rotation of the day, and we want things to feel fresh and unique on the day and weekly basis. So we'll literally show you all of the movements. We'll give you that like debrief of everything, and then we'll warm you up together. And so we we go through the Get Fit flow is what we call it. And so really a lot of dynamic stretching at the beginning, not holding any stretches too long, and getting that heart rate fired up. We'll like rest, we'll recover, and then we will dive into whatever that structure is. So maybe we'll have like 8 people per spot and there's 4 stations, or and then we'll hit the workout, and maybe stuff is trainer timed. So we're counting you through, maybe it's minute intervals, 90-second intervals, and we're resting and we're cueing you through all of that. So you don't have to do a lot of the guesswork on things. But the great part is people can come in here and go as hard and as heavy as they want to, but they can also really scale back, especially if you're just, starting out and maybe need to do things body weight even, or super lightweight or accessory type work with, like the bands and that kind of stuff. So we love that question, and we love the opportunity to just really explain who we are and why we do what we do. Us being functional fitness, we want to prepare you for life. So we are incorporating movements that are going to set you up for success, when you're 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. Think of deadlift, like I'm bending over to tie my shoe. I'm thinking of squats, like literally sitting in a chair or getting into the car. So those types of things, and placing the body in different positions that are going to set you up for that success. I mean, even step ups, like getting, walking up the stairs. I mean, it's just those basic daily tasks that say some might have difficulties doing, but we're gonna prep you for that. Every single time that you're in class. And a lot of it is a lot of core movement. Even if it's not, hey, you're doing, a dead bug, and then we're going to an ab movement of crunches, but we do program those things, but we also program movements that are going to hit your core in multiple ways without us honestly kind of realizing it, and engaging that core, especially going a little bit heavier on those. The other question that we get is, I'm pulling it up, is do you guys have core values? You talked on your mission statement. Yes, we do have core values, and we hold on to them so dearly, just as the mission statement. We preach a lot of whole health around here, which is caring for the whole person. Obviously, we are fitness, physical, which ties into mental, emotional, well-being, and we want to develop the whole person. And we touch on that, like developing podcasts. We're learning for sure. And, workshops and providing tools and just education. And, it's also truly talking to our people day in and day out, before class, during class, after class. Like, we want to know you. Like, we want to know, what are you doing this weekend? We want to know how your race went. We want to know how your kid's soccer game went. Like that's just the family we are. The other one is obviously community. That's a pretty given one. We are huge on that and developing those really authentic relationships inside the studio, outside the studio. And then quality is number 3. So we want to provide the most quality excellence that you can gain in everything we do. And that's why we take our programming so dear to heart, and we spend so much time in that, behind the scenes, and then also, the front desk. Like it's a like domino effect. Like we all have a certain part in that programming, writing the boards, setting up, and then executing the workout. Like we are all a huge part of it. Number 4 is integrity, which I feel like should be number 1, and it is in all of our hearts, is to do what's right and do right by people. At the end of the day, like I'll be the first to admit, like I won't always get it right, but I'll always humble myself and admit when I'm wrong, and move forward from that and have the hard conversations that we need to have. And that's how we also develop those relationships, in the team. And that's super important. And selflessness is huge. That is a given for our team. To be on the team is, you definitely have to be a selfless person. That's obviously putting others first, no matter what. Maybe it is, a new person coming in, and you're jumping in that workout with them, and you're like so stoked to go like ham, but for sure you're going to scale back and be there for that person and be a part of their first day and their first memorable moment with us. Is huge. And then the next one is personal growth. So as a team, we collectively, like, we read books, we listen to podcasts, we are constantly keeping each other accountable too. You know, if something is not going well at home, like, we're holding each other up and checking in on each other and making sure that we are constantly being better, because if we're not pouring into ourselves, we cannot pour into others. And that is such a huge, huge thing for us. Those are all like really great questions. And it's fun because we have these conversations on a daily basis of people asking us those questions. But it was like great confirmation when we asked for feedback, like, what kind of topics would you guys like us to talk through? And you know, I'll be the first to admit, like, we're learning on this podcast, and it's another step towards growth. It's another step towards being uncomfortable and kind of learning, you know, what works well. Learning not to say is a huge thing. But see, I just did it again. Maybe we'll edit that part. I'm just kidding. It's just, you know, keeping it real. The other thing we want to talk about is nutrition. So that is, we've had a big influx of people walking through nutritional coaching, and the first part, that's how Alyssa and I first like really connected to each other. And but we had a lot of people start to sign up that are just honestly starting their fitness journey and nutrition journey, and it's already like so much progress, even like the first week of making better choices and drinking, you know, more water on the daily. Is, you know, sometimes those mundane things are so boring and mundane, but they're so important. But for someone to hit that like for the first time is like, man, let's go. It's just like the start of your life completely changing. And the other thing we want to talk about is, I touch on the Get Fit Games a little bit. I wanted to relay that into analogy. I love analogies. I don't know why some of them are like really cheesy, but I just feel like it gives us a better grasp on things, and we can relate to things better. But yeah, we did it last year and it was fun. We were only open like what, four months. It was so fun. No one even knew what the Get Fit Games were. They're like, yeah, like,
We're
sign
gonna do
me
it.
up. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna do it. And then this year there's some that are still like that because they're so new. We've grown literally so much, but just watching them get so excited. But the analogy that I want to use is the Get Fit Games. Oftentimes we sign up for these events like the Get Fit Games or a marathon or half marathon, like whatever that is. We get into this mindset of, okay, no, well, now I'm going to start working on my fitness and nutrition. We like prepare ourselves for this event, which is great. Like, we all do this, and I'm fully support that, but I want to relate it to your own life. So what steps are you currently taking to prepare yourself for life? Like we mentioned before, how are you going to feel when you're 50, 60, 70, 80 years old? Some of you might be in your 20s, some of you might be in your 30s, 40s, some of you may be in your 50s and 60s currently. But, you know, preparing for life. And that's exactly like what we do here. And our fitness is, we want you to move well. We want you to feel well. We don't want you to walk away from your workout feeling like completely destroyed. There's days where you honestly might feel that way because maybe you push yourself a little bit harder past your limits than you normally do. But, you know, not being so wrecked to where, you know, you can't pick up your kids or, you know, go to the park with them and, you know, push them on the swing because your back is too wrecked from the workout. Like, that's not who we are. And we're definitely going to push you past your limits, but also just being super supportive during that. But what I want to kind of touch on is, how are you preparing on your daily choices, your weekly choices, in your fitness and your nutrition for life? For me, I know I talked about losing my dad, and that is a big reason why I'm here. And I think through, like, some of you might think I'm weird, but I think through like literally the food that I'm eating, like, how is this feeling my cells right now? Like, I'm not even thinking necessarily like my muscle mass, like, yeah, cool, that's a win. Like, yeah, everyone wants lean muscle mass, and I'm fully support that. But, you know, like, how is this going to affect my body if I'm constantly eating, you know, fill in the blank in like 5 years, 10 years? It blows my mind. Maybe that's like the science like nerd of me, but I just love that stuff. So Alyssa, why don't you share, kind of like, give us like what you kind of eat on a daily basis? Like, let's give some tips out on like pre-workout, post-workout, like snacks?
I would say breakfast wise, if we're just gonna start off with that, I'll do like some eggs, egg white kind of situation mixed with like if I'm feeling fancy, some bell peppers and a chicken sausage if it's feeling real
If you
fancy.
want to cook, let's just
If
say
I want
it.
to
Yeah, there we go.
And then I'll usually have oatmeal, but if I'm on the go with how my life usually is between Starbucks here, everything else in between that I absolutely love, I'll make overnight oats with some like protein powder in there to have the balance of protein and carbs. And then snacks wise will be like protein bar or chom stick if some type of fruits or anything of that sort. And then lunch just really honing in on getting more of my protein based with vegetables and then like sweet potatoes or rice. And then if I'm going to be going into a workout, I usually try to have like a yogurt or something of some sort as well with a little bit more protein. And then dinner time, it's like, all right, protein full force. Give me some chicken, give me some shrimp, some beef, some type of something. And
All
then,
of the above.
yeah, all of the above, grill it up. But super just really simple things. But in the end game, it's how you spice it up with just seasonings or anything
Literally spice.
literally spice, but just really just honing in on that part too, because I think that's what really makes it taste better and have that difference between all the food in between. But rice cakes have been a go-to recently with some almond butter and some banana on top. Good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's a staple.
What do you think was like your biggest struggle when you first started your nutrition journey? Like what?
I would say now that it's been like a couple like years, but when I first was starting it, I think just having the like thought of I needed to count everything was just a lot. But also you can always just do like starting off with eating healthier and making yourself feel better. And to be completely transparent, that's something that I've been doing in the last like month and a half. But back in the day, learning how to count everything, making sure it was so stressful, but in the end game, like within the first 2 weeks, you figured it out. And yes, there's those ups and those downs, but it also goes to show that like macros or eating healthy, like it's a good thing for you, but you can also still enjoy the food that you want to enjoy. It's not limited to only you can have like X, Y, and Z and make you feel like you're on a diet. It kind of helps you figure out, oh, I can still eat this and enjoy life with family or at an event or at a birthday party. So it's how you kind of want to fit things in. But moving forward now, I have a better sense of like what is good for my body and everything of that sort and what actually helps my body or if something inflames my body. So it's been a really cool journey to see the differences between back in the day when I first started and now and just going back into macro counting here in probably the next like week after a long week that I have ahead of me, but really excited to see how my body has already changed over the last month and a half. So going back to it and everything of that sort.
Yeah. Macros, for those of you that aren't like familiar with macros, it's carbs, proteins, fats. And there is a fourth macro, which is alcohol, which we'll say that for a whole nother topic on our maybe next podcast, maybe a few from now. But if you are just starting out and you're like, I don't even know the first step of what to do, I would really recommend starting at least hitting 100 grams of protein per day. Just a gradual start. And as far as water intake, I would aim for like 80 to 100 ounces of water. I know oftentimes we're like, get a gallon. Sometimes like that feels like a part-time job. Like, we already have like a million. Let's just aim for 80 to 100 ounces of water. And then just keep it simple. Like I'm such a simple person when it comes to stuff. But even, having a small goal of having maybe a fruit or vegetable per meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, even your snacks, that is a great option too. And then getting movement. So even aiming for 8 to 10,000 steps per day, those little small pockets of things will make a really big difference. And then we'll just kind of leak into even fine tuning those steps. And if you're like, how do I even calculate 100 grams of protein? You can go to like the old school way of which I honestly love, because the end goal on, macro tracking is not to track forever. There's going to be seasons where you want to get into the nitty gritty and really track, fine tune things. But when you get to that point of like, I can really eyeball things and give a good guesstimate, you don't always have to track. But you can give it to where as far as like protein, like how much should I have per meal? You just look at your palm, which is great. And then how much like fruits and vegetables should I have on my plate? It's 2 fistfuls. So like, give yourself knuckles. Like it's great. And then as far as carbs, like you should have a cupped hand of carbs on your plate. And then fat intake should be a thumb, which some of you, like your jaw just dropped in this moment. Like, yeah, when you start calculating your macros, you'll notice like fat intake is lower, protein is higher, carbs are like your friend, and, yeah, for me, as far as like, I'm very simple. I can eat the same thing every day. I love black coffee. I don't need anything fancy. Like just help me eat well. And so I can move all my workouts. But as far as like meal prepping, I oftentimes like in the past used to view it as like a part-time job. And I'm like, dude, this is so much work. I have 3 kids. It's just a lot. So I like batch cook chicken breasts, and I keep everything very plain. So I'm talking like garlic powder, onion powder. This is really behind the scenes. So I'll make it as plain as that. And then same with ground turkey. I will do the exact same thing, like onion powder, garlic powder. I will ground the turkey up, and I'll make a big thing of rice, whether it's white or brown. And then I'll do a batch of vegetables. And the reason why I do that is so I can make different meals throughout the day. Like you were talking about spice. So like I'll make like a burrito bowl one day. I'm like, "Duh, this is great." And then the next meal or the next day, I'm making more of like maybe like an Asian meal. So I'll add like coconut aminos to it. And so it doesn't always just like plain chicken and broccoli and rice. So there's days where I'm like, this is great. But keeping it pretty simple like that, and obviously it's like really budget friendly, is a great thing for me. As far as like snacks and stuff, I do a lot of Greek yogurt because then I don't feel like I'm eating meat all the time, and it's a good like change up. But don't knock this till you try it. So I'll do plain Greek yogurt. Some of you are like, this reminds me of sour cream. I promise you, it's good. And then I'll do like 16 grams of peanut butter in it, and then I'll mix it all up, and then I'll add like blueberries to it. It is
So good.
bomb diggity. And then you can even put it in the freezer where it's like a frozen yogurt meal. Try it. Let us know if you try it. But as snacks too, I do a lot of like hard boiled eggs. I do a lot of apples. I do a lot of fruit. Fruit is my jam. I love it so much. And even just like chopsticks, that's my go-to. I will never leave the house without a chopstick and a protein bar for the just in case hangry moments. Like you got to prevent those from happening. Thank you so much for listening today. As we move forward with more podcasts to come, we are going to touch on particular subjects, and we are thankful for your feedback on the first one on some of the subjects that you guys do want us to really dive into and talk about, which we are so excited to do. We're going to invite those people in the local community and our own community to jump on the podcast with us, and we are looking forward to it. We're looking forward to this aspect of growth. We're looking forward to continue to educate you guys and give you a good wider perspective of exactly what we do here with functional fitness, and just who we are as people, as a team, is really important for everyone to know and feel. And we're just real people trying to, make it through day in and day out and just serve you the best that we possibly can. That's a wrap. This episode of Unscripted Wellness. We hope you find something to inspire your movement and mindset. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to subscribe, share, and connect with us at Get Fit Meridian. Remember, wellness isn't about perfection. It's about showing up for yourself every single day. Until next time, keep moving.